The only one who can tell you that you can't win is you, and you don't have to listen. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Athlete Podcast sponsored by Sports for Champions. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Alicia Evanson. How are you today, Alicia?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It's great to have you on board. So can you tell us a little bit about how you first got into gymnastics? I believe you were actually spotted during a school visit by a gymnastics coach, is that right?
Yeah, so we had a coach come into my school. She came, I think, on a weekly basis, and then Tant spotted me to ask to join the gymnastics club she was at. And then very quickly I got selected to do the competitive programme, and then she was actually my coach for many years.
That's great, wow. Is gymnastics, was that on your radar at the time, or is it completely new to you?
I was doing cheerleading at the time, and then I sort of fell in love with gymnastics very quickly when I began actually going to the club, and then we're like 15 years on, still doing it now.
Yeah, so it definitely resonated. When you first started out, did you focus on any particular discipline?
I was an artistic gymnast for 10 years, and then I sort of did little bits of tumble alongside, but it was always just, we sort of did tumble comps to aid because we did tumbling for the floor. And then when I was 16, I moved across and started doing tumbling as my main focus.
Can you tell us a bit about artistic gymnastics? What does that entail?
So artistic gymnastics is the main Olympic discipline that most people know gymnastics for. So it's the floor, the vault, the beam and the bars. And I think it's a little bit more challenging, it's a bit more time consuming training wise, because you have 4 pieces of apparatus, not just the one.
Of course, yeah. Interesting. And then you moved over, was it at 16?
16.
And is that quite a normal trajectory, or is that a little bit later?
I know there's a few other people from tumble do move across from artistic, but I think typically they're a bit younger than what I did. And then it didn't help, the change was when COVID hit. It took 18 months off.
Wow.
So sort of when I was expecting to be doing more of the elite pathway at like 18, it was more when I was 20.
Oh, I see what you mean. So you had, was it roughly 18 months out of the gym?
Yeah, I think it was hit and miss. So we could go into the gym and then do like maybe 4 or 5 weeks, and then we'd have another 4 weeks off the gym. So every time I felt like I was getting somewhere, another lockdown would hit, and then we'd feel like we had to rework our way back up again. We got to the gym.
That's so difficult. Were you doing bits at home, or is it just there's nothing you can do?
Yeah, the first lockdown we did a lot of running, and then we kind of started getting hit in the winter then, and then we started doing Zooms, and my living room was taken up most evenings then with Zoom workouts that the coach provided.
I can imagine. And then so obviously you transitioned over to tumbling. Can you tell us a bit about tumbling? What does that look like?
So tumbling is a long track, and you have 8 skills to do, typically 7 somersaults and then a round off at the foot to get you going, with the big skill on the end onto the landing mat. With the higher end, you will have a big transition element of a double somersault in the middle as well.
And is there any part of that you favour? Is there anything that you really look forward to, or is it all kind of one run? It's so exciting because whereas in artistic, you kind of have your floor teams a minute and a half, you dragged it out, you literally less than 10 seconds and it's over. And it's just, your body sort of takes over, and it's just so exciting. Like the adrenaline just completely takes over when you're competing. I can imagine it's more of a sort of muscle memory thing, with it being such a short space of time.
Yeah, like there is certain bits like you meant to like spot the track, but a lot of the time you're thinking about it, but it's so quick that the basic elements sort of come in and start taking play, and you sort of just let your body do what it needs to do. There might be a certain bit of the one tumble, you might always do it, so you have to focus on that bit. It might be like you don't put your arms in the right place, so you focus on that.
And then I know that coming out of COVID, you was it all focused on the World Age Championships, is that right?
Yeah, so first year I competed at the British Open in 2021, and that was kind of my first sort of feeling of the elite pathway, my first, we call it FIG level, which is the highest level you can get to. And it kind of got a feel of it, and then I did my first full year. It was a bit of a rough start and didn't have the greatest of competitions initially, but then I sort of took a bit of time back in the gym, built it back up again, and came national age group champion for 17 to 21. And then coming into 2023, I knew it was a home world, but I wasn't really expecting to make it. I was kind of just wanted sort of to have a go, try and push the difficulty up and sort of see if I could challenge for a place, but at the same time I wasn't expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
And then got the phone call to say I'd made the team, and I think it was more of a shock because I wasn't expecting at the same time. And then being a home worlds was kind of something everyone wants to do.
Of course, yeah. And then where was that taking place?
In Birmingham.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So there was 6 weeks between the British and Worlds in the exact same arena.
That's amazing. And then in terms of the actual competition itself, how did that go?
Really well, a lot better than expected. So at the British, I competed a run for the first time. It was the first time I did a transition run. So I did 2 double somersaults in one run. And it didn't quite go well first in the qualification, and it kind of just built better and did it in the finals. So it was that was a run I wanted to nail going into Worlds because I knew it could put me in a good position. Then I finished my group and I looked up at the scoreboard and I was in first place.
Wow.
And that was a complete shock because my aim was just to get 2 runs to my feet. I wasn't expecting to be at Worlds at all. After all 4 groups competed, I was sat in third, so I made the final as well. And I think everyone's kind of, like my personal coach was in the audience, and I think everyone was just in shock, and my parents, we weren't expecting to be the final, and there's 2 per country rule as well, and there was 3 of us trying to make the final. So I thought even if I did get into the top 8, the other 2 were probably going to knock me out anyway. So in my head, I kind of wasn't going to make the final no matter what. And then I just completely enjoyed the whole experience, like going to the final, walking out to my name, because I didn't feel there was like any pressure because I'd achieved everything and more before even getting there.
Yeah, so even you set yourself your goal, you kind of surpassed that already. So
Yeah.
You're actually taking on the run with, I guess, unshackled really. And then in terms of the actual final itself, how did you get on?
It wasn't quite as good run as the qualification, but then I did do the qualification run really well. But I still got a higher score than I had done before I got to the competition, and I finished 5th. So I just missed out on the second final, getting the top 4. But I was really happy with just saying 5th in the world is quite an achievement.
Not bad at all, really, especially considering you weren't even expected to get into the final by your own expectations. When you say that the qualifying run went really well, can you tell us a bit about how that, what makes that such a good run, and perhaps what makes maybe you running the final a little bit like not as good?
So it's quite hard to try. You get massive difficulty, and females get a mark bonus for doing 2 doubles in one run.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite hard getting out and make sure it's smooth coming out. And I sort of came out of warm and they were going really well, and went out to the competition and I just completely flew, and it was the smoothest transition I'd ever done, and it went so high. And you sort of normally get judged on like how quick you're going down the track, so if everything stays at the same speed or quicker, you know it's a good tumble. And I like beat my PB at like 0.7. I think I scored 23.8, and before that was 23.1, so it was a massive score increase. I was quite shocked when I saw it. And then the difference to the finals, it wasn't quite as smooth coming out, it was a little bit high, so then I only scored a 23.4, which is still better than what I'd done before.
Yeah, it's still good.
But it just wasn't quite as good.
Wow. So obviously for a first competition, especially coming out of COVID and changing disciplines, an amazing showing. Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of training goes into all this? Like, what does a typical day's training look like for you?
So I do 3 main sessions a week. So I do a Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday in the gym. And we do like a warm-up, which typically lasts like 20 minutes to half an hour, depending how much I feel I need to stretch to get going. maybe a little bit of strength work, and then depending what time of year we are, so now we're on the build up after Christmas, getting back into it, I might do an hour of track, an hour of fast track, maybe a little bit more track, and then we'll do an hour strength and conditioning to finish before we finish. So typically sessions will be like 3 to 4 hours.
Wow.
And then I've chosen to start now doing more strength and conditioning outside as well, going to like commercial gym to help aid like my progress in the gym.
Is that something you enjoy?
Yeah, I do enjoy going, but it's kind of, I know as I'm there, I know I'm going to feel it in the gym, and the more positive, I'll feel more positive whilst I'm training. It's more of that effect that I enjoy about I know when I go to training, I'll feel much better.
Yeah, because you've done the work outside of it as well.
Yeah.
And in terms of all the other aspects of your life outside of the gym, is it something that you bear in mind sort of constantly? Do you watch what you eat? How's your approach to nutrition?
It could be better, it could be worse, but I think no one's got a perfect diet. Coming out of Christmas now, that's something I really want to focus on coming in, especially going senior the first time this year. So I'm really trying to focus on nutrition this year, making sure I'm having enough protein. I know if I haven't ate enough before a session, I'll definitely feel it 45 minutes to an hour in, and I've got 2 hours to go and I'm like starving, tired.
That's not good, no. It's so much dedication that it takes to actually sort of achieve what you're kind of looking to. I know that tumbling isn't the best funded sport within gymnastics even, never mind all the other sports. Can you tell me a little bit about how the funding works and perhaps how Sports for Champions can maybe help out with that? So
this year I was selected for the England squad. So in GymWorks is you have your Great Britain national squad above, and then you go into your home nation squads underneath. It's like the top squad is the Great Britain one. That's what everyone aims for. So I got selected for England, and there's no funding in that, so I had to pay for every training camp we went to. I went to Belgium on a training camp, that was all self-funded, and then I got selected to represent England at the Lule International Cup in Portugal. I had to pay for all that, pay for all my kit, and then the surprise selection for Worlds, I then had to pay the whole of my kit, then the whole trip, so then it soon starts to add up.
Of course, yeah.
And then you got to consider, then that's just the more international high level side. You've got your training fees at the gym, your leotard, like chalk, and then if you need to go see a physio, and everything just starts to pile up, and your life starts to revolve around gym, and then you start training more, then it's hard to find work hours, you have to work part-time half the time, so then you've not got the balance of you're not getting paid to do gym, so you need to find something else, but then you can't let the gym training be sacrificed to work.
It's so difficult for young athletes, and I think that's one of the key sort of missions for Sports for Champions, is to actually make sure that we give athletes an opportunity to continue doing their sport while inspiring the young next generation, and also being able to make enough money to hopefully not have to pick up other jobs. Is that kind of how you see it working out for you?
Hopefully that'd be nice, because I coach as well at the moment to try and help, so I'm always at the gym. That's my way of balancing out to pay for to live and pay for all the gym fees.
What kind of legacy would you like to leave behind in your sport?
I would like to leave a much positive impact on the sport, making sure a lot more gymnasts are happy, having fun, as well as achieving high success. High success could be any level. It can be county, regional, national, international, whatever. As long as they're happy and enjoying it, that's like the main thing's important.
And what do you see in the future for yourself?
I'm hoping I could make a senior major international at some point before I finish. Then after I finish, that'd be probably more the plan, would be to start my own leotard company up.
Oh yeah, because you study. What do you study at university?
I studied fashion design at uni.
Right. Okay. So that actually, you can see how that could work quite well.
Yeah.
With Taz. Is there any immediate changes that you'd make, or do you don't want to give any away trade secrets ahead of time?
I just like any leotard with a bit of sparkle on. Make sure you can sparkle when you're competing.
Lovely. And finally, have you got any advice for perhaps somebody who's thinking of starting a career in sport, or maybe more specifically in gymnastics?
Just enjoy it. No matter what sport you're doing, you got to enjoy it, because if you don't enjoy it, it becomes a chore. More gymnastics, it's such a fun thing to do. You're doing things you wouldn't typically do in life. Throwing yourself over in the air, doing a somersault. It's something, it's like a feeling you just can't describe.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's a fantastic note to end it on. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
More than welcome. And thank you to everyone listening at home. We'll see you next time. Cheers.